I'm really excited right now to bring Mr. Rikki Rockett on with us for the show. How you doing, Rikki?
Hi, how's it going? I'm doing good, man. It is just a hot day in the greater Los Angeles area today. I
Wait.
was out on the motorcycle riding around and I was like, "Oh man, I gotta go home and do this thing."
Well, to your point earlier, you don't have helmet hair. You look fantastic. You're looking really good.
Thanks.
Well, we just watched that little piece on you going through oral cancer, but before we get to that, because I definitely want to talk about that, I thought I would let everybody know how we first met. It was back in 2013. I was talking to Roy Laketta, and he told me about you, and he said that you knew, oh my gosh, Athena,
Yeah, yeah,
and,
yeah, of
and he was like,
course.
you need to get to know her, and so he gave me your number. I called you, talked to you, and you introduced me to Athena, and we chatted about breast cancer because she had gone through breast cancer. But when we were talking, you were like, "Hey, what kind of drum set are you playing right now?" And at that time, you had Rocket Drumworks going, and you were
Yeah.
like, "Well, let me see what I can do." And next thing I knew, John was calling me up and saying, "Hey, we're sending you a Rocket Drumworks drum kit for your foundation to use at your shows." And I was like, "Oh my gosh!" I was just like amazed. It was the sweetest thing. It's still to this day, it's one of the kits that we bring to many of the drumathons. I also have the other Rocket Drumworks kit, and they're staples on our drumathon stage every year. So it's had a huge impact. So even 7 years later, Rikki, it's making a huge impact. So thank you so much for that, man.
Right on.
Yeah, it's
Thank
very
you.
cool.
No, yeah, no, I wish I could do it right now. Yeah.
Jam on drums together, but here we are on Zoom with everybody else on the planet right now. This is kind of where we're sitting. But take us back a little bit, if you would. I know that you were diagnosed after we had met, and man, when you hear those words, it's a scary time. Take us back through that just a little bit.
You know what? It's even scary now to think about it. Yeah, so I mean, I talked about it in that video, but I had this sore throat that wouldn't go away, and um, I went to the ENT, and thank God for my ENT because uh, he did a biopsy on my tongue, and it came back negative, and he's like, and I'm like, yeah, and he's like, I'm just not buying it. I just and I said, "Well, you think it's cancer?" And he goes, "Well, I don't know, but I can't just, say be on your way. We're all good. Something is there that shouldn't be there, and we need to maybe do another biopsy." And I was like, "Oh God." Well, it took three to make a long story short, to get diagnosed with it. And so I feel like some time had passed by then, but it can hide in the tissues and stuff like that, and especially with the oral cancer, and so that's what happened.
Yeah.
It was just harder to detect, and so that strung it along a little further.
Well, I think that that's something that's common with most of the cancer survivors that I've spoke to today is that they noticed something and they just kind of stayed on it. And so in your case, your ENT stayed on it. And that's so important to just like, if you feel like something's not right, to really stay in tune with your health and keep on top of that. So, gosh, so glad that that happened.
It is, and it's like there's this weird balance because it's like, you want to stay on top of stuff, but at the same time, you don't want to be a hypochondriac, which I am, Uh, so, but I guess it's better to be that than be dead, right? So, but see, the thing is with mine was, there's actually it's a, with HPV, because mine was with a virus. Um, with that, there's a really good survival rate actually. But it didn't cure. And when you've done, yeah, and you do chemo and radiation at the same time, that's what's so difficult about standard of care treatment with this disease, because it just tears you up. I mean, you can't swallow right, you can't eat solid food. I was on liquid diet for months, and then when you're done with the treatment, then you go and get a scan, but you have to wait for 3 months to get the scan. So you're like, oh God, did this go away? Did this go away? And in my case, I walked in there thinking, okay, I don't feel right, but I think I'm just healing, and I think it went away. And then when the doctor told me that it didn't go away, I was like not only devastated, but then I knew that there was a whole lot less options at that point. You can't go back and do radiation. You have to wait at least a year. Um, Chemo was just going to string me along, and getting surgery would they'd cut my tongue out. So so then there was this immunotherapy, and thank God for UC San Diego, Moore's Cancer Center, and Dr. Cohen and his team, Dr. Patel, down there, who are looking to the future, and had a great trial down there. And my doctor that was up here, his name was George Nayeva. He said, look, they have a great trial down there. I'd suggest you go down there and try. And but then some people warned me, some other doctors warned me that if you do the trial and it's not working, it might be too late to do the surgery. So then you would die. But I was like, well, I can't sing. I can't do. May not be able to play. I mean, I might as well die. So let's go after it. Let's go for broke. And Dr. Cohen was like, no, I wouldn't do the surgery. I think we have time. I think we can do this. And he was right. I mean, it was a total of 18 weeks, from start to where it was completely gone. I responded in probably in 9 weeks. It may have been earlier. We don't know. Within a few weeks, maybe. So when it works, it is amazing.
So amazing, man. I can't imagine. I think I probably would have broke down and fallen to my knees crying when they told me that I had a complete response to something like that, especially after hearing the news that you got in the beginning, where it looked so, dire, and you had to do something and be able to take that immunotherapy and knock it out. Gosh.
Well, here's the thing. It was like almost immediately. They told me, they gave me the news. I was completely ecstatic. They said, but you have to walk back to, because I was still on the trial, so I had to stay on the medication for a period of time. So I had to go back to the front desk and then check in to go in and do the infusion. Okay. But I mean, it was like, yeah, give me the infusion because I'm already like
You're
100%,
like,
like,
I'm cool. Give it
whatever.
to me twice if you want to. I don't care.
But so I'm walking out, and this guy goes, "Excuse me, are you Ricky? I heard about what's going on with the trial. How are you doing?" And I said, "I'm 100%." He goes, "My brother's here because of you. He flew in from Baltimore. Would you be willing to talk to him?" And at that moment, I knew that it wasn't over for me. This was the beginning. That meant I had to go out and help people. I mean, that's I was getting God was giving me a second chance. The powers that be, whatever it is you say, that was my second chance to go out there and try to help. And I know that you felt this before too, because you are. I mean, you're amazing. I love you. You're amazing.
Man,
You
thank you
do.
so much.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're relentless, and um, but yo, it's phenomenal what you've accomplished. Um, so, the other thing too, that maybe because of the trial, maybe not because of the trial, maybe because of radiation, maybe, but I developed a blood disorder from at that period in time after I was done with the oral cancer, only 2 months later. And I'm not going to get into what it is, because if I do, then you hear all the horror stories about that. But the good news is that I got on medication. It got better, better, better. And just uh, about 2 months ago, it's like completely undetectable, gone. So yeah, so I've kind of beaten things a couple times now. So yeah, uh,
Right?
yeah.
I mean, seriously, that's so cool. And you've introduced me to several other people who've gone through cancer, and I think that you're right. I feel like a responsibility. I know that you know this about me. I feel a responsibility to share my story with others and to help people and really try to turn my experience going through breast cancer into a positive. And I know that you're feeling that same way too. And your story is encouragement to folks. And I know it's a different type of cancer than breast cancer, but cancer is cancer, right? So, you being able to share your
Well,
story is so helpful.
here's the thing. I was on a panel about a year and a half ago or more. I think it was about a year and a half ago, and I've been asked to do a lot of these panels and speak and things like that. And so I went down to this, and there was another person that had head and neck cancer, a different type, and there was a woman that had a triple negative, like you had. And as you know, of course, I don't have to tell you, it is pretty much the worst kind of breast cancer to have. Am I correct?
It is more rare, more aggressive, more likely to recur. So yeah, super scary.
Anyway, there was a woman who's a therapist, as a matter of fact, very attractive woman, and got triple negative, and they put her on immunotherapy. And she had been on it for a few months and was doing great, never had any surgery, nothing else. And I just checked on her, and she's still great. So I don't know if she's still on a trial or whether they did the trial. I want to find out more about it. But she's doing amazing from what I understand, still cancer free. And I mean, so the immunotherapy is not just for head and neck cancer, not even
No,
close. I mean,
it's
it's Jimmy Carter is one of the first people to do this type of treatment, by the way.
yeah, and I mean, even Dr. Joyce O'Shaughnessy, she was on earlier. She was talking about the research and trials that she does for breast cancer, and they do immunotherapy through that as well. And so they couple it with other things. And immunotherapy is a huge breakthrough in cancer treatment for sure, man. Totally.
Yeah, no, there's some great stuff. There's some great targeted stuff. There's stem cell. There's a lot of really amazing targeted treatments, therapies, and cures. I mean, the thing is that, I said to my doctor, I said, look, if I did standard of care and we got to 5 years, you would say it's a cure. If we get to 5 years because of immunotherapy, is it still a cure? And he said, yes.
That's all you want to hear too. Yes,
So,
cure. Yes, please.
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
That's
So,
awesome.
uh, but I am in an on. I'm. Let me say this in English. I'm in uncharted territory
Yeah.
because, no, I'm one of the few people that have gone this long. Uh, and but I'm not on the drug or anything like that. I mean, the trial was a 2-year trial, but I was only on it for about 8 months, I think.
Uh huh. Well, so how often do you have to check in with your oncologist now?
Well, I get a scan once a year for now. I
Mhm.
think there's the next one is my last one.
Nice.
Hopefully, for all the right reasons, is my last one. But I told him, I said, no, you're not going to get rid of me that easy because I need to. I think I need to do it once a year, just
I know.
at least. I mean, I just.
I totally told you the other day. I was like, when my doctor told me, "Hey, we're done. You don't have to come back again." I was like, "What?" Now I'm freaking out because no one's checking out on me, and I don't know if
uh,
if there's something cropping up because no one's
yeah,
checking in on me anymore. It's a little bit scary. And Ricky, we have a few people that are posting some questions, so I want to be sure and get to those
yeah,
real quick. So Lynn asked,
yeah. Let's do it.
Ricky, going through treatments at similar times as Def Leppard's Vivian Campbell, did you touch base with him much?
I tried, and Vivian's very. He keeps to himself about it. Well, we spoke in a very brief way about it on tour. He just doesn't like to talk about it. Some people do. Some people are more out there, and that's his prerogative. So I don't know if he's. I believe he's fully in the clear, from what I understand. But I don't know. I would have liked to have talked to him more, but what he did, his stuff was different, uh, and and he did do stem cell as well. He did a few different treatments,
Right.
from my understanding. I don't want to speak out of line because I really don't know.
Yeah, yeah, sure. And I think that's another thing with going through cancer is everybody handles it different. There's no wrong or right way to do it. And people that want to be private about it, that's totally fine. If you want to speak up about it, it's just whatever you feel in your heart. You know, that's the way you got to go. I'm also getting a
Yeah.
question here from, I hope I'm reading it back. And you have your glasses on and you're cheating. I don't have my glasses on. So
I know I have I know I
man, I
gotta
can't
do it.
read
I
it.
gotta,
So
I
Ari
know.
Tilly
I
says,
mean, look, I can take them off. I'm all
no,
right.
no,
I gotta get back here though,
no, you're good. Leave them on. It's fine. I'm just jealous. That's all. So Ari Tilly says, What's the first song that you learned when you started to play drums?" She says she's a huge fan of Poison and really loves you. Sending love from Italy.
Oh, well, love back to Italy. Um, well, the first songs I ever learned like on my bed with like a phone book and stuff like that were it was 8 Days a Week by the Beatles. But the first time I ever sat down at an actual drum kit and learned to play a song was I learned Bab O'Reilly by the Who. That was
Nice.
the song that I learned. And my brother-in-law at the time, came in and told me I was doing it all wrong. And I said, well, how do I do it right then? How will you show me? And he goes, no, just listen closer.
And you're like, that's a great technique for learning. Thank you for that. How old were you when that happened?
uh, my first drum kit was when I was 12.
Wow. Yeah.
So yeah, and I mean, that I just love that bounce,
Yep.
it was loose and groovy, and I still love that song. So it's just so big. Can you imagine if you had put horns behind it? Have you ever played with a band with a horn section in your life?
I haven't played with a horn section, but I did play with a percussion ensemble with marimbas and chimes, like the big old chimes with the big bells, and the timpanis and all that, but not a horn section. No.
Man, I got to tell you, like I I did once, and when you hit a crash cymbal on an accent and a horn section explodes, it's insane.
I bet
Like you
so.
think it's insane when like guitars hit. I mean, this was like I get it now a little bit, that whole big band thing. I mean, it's like wow. But so like Brian Setzer is like his drummers have a lot of fun.
I bet so, right? Those accents are really accented big time. We got another question here from Chris Cruz Urpino. He says, "Can Ricky talk about his early influences and which drummer does he follow now?"
Early influences. God, like, of course it was Ringo, because what happened was my sister was forced to babysit for me. And so she would come up with any, and I hope you're watching, Vicky. I love you, but you used to do this to me. Uh, she wanted to hang out with her friends, okay, and smoke pot, shit like that. And so she would come up with anything to get me into, if I got in trouble, it was like, to your room. Well, I think she felt bad one night because, I didn't really do anything wrong. So she gave me a record player and some 45s. And that was the night I decided that I want to become a drummer. That's when I listened to the Beatles records that she gave me, these 45s that she didn't want anymore. And by the way, I still have them.
Wow.
But then as time went on and I came into my own thing, the first drummer I ever like truly, truly fell in love with his playing was because I bought the record with my own money, and that was Ian Pace from Deep Purple.
Nice.
And to this day, I've never met Ian Pace, by the way. I've heard he's a really cool guy, but I've never, unfortunately, had the opportunity to meet him. And that record like literally changed my life. I mean, and I rarely talk about Deep Purple, but Deep Purple was like this huge influence on me. But so were all the records that my mom and dad listened to. My mom loved Elvis and that kind of rockabilly stuff, and my dad loved James Brown and soul music and big band. So I had a lot of that. And my sister was a hippie, so she had all these Doors records and Grateful Dead and all that kind of stuff. So I had this plethora of music around me at a very young age. And so, when I joined a top 40 band many years later, I had a lot to draw from. And I always tell people, they're always like, "Oh, what is your recommendation? Uh, to like, what do you think I should do?" Uh, to get better or to to push my career forward. And I always say, the first step, honestly, go join a top 40 band for a while. And it doesn't have to be pop, okay, but at least like a band with an array of cover songs. Just go do it. Go play a couple of nights every week and learn all those songs. Learn the Police, learn Van Halen, learn whatever it is, you know what I
Right.
mean? Like just learn all that stuff, play all that stuff, and then you know where to apply certain things. And then when you go to do your own thing, you have this vast, like, huge library to draw from, because you've been doing it instead of going, hmm. I mean, I've seen bands that have really good, um, you know, uh, original songs, and then you try to jam with them, and they don't know how to jam. And you have to be able to do that. You have to be able to sit in the music and have places to pull inspiration from. So, when I feel like you know, it gave me, like, by doing that, it actually gave me enough experience to become very original and know who I was rather than just copying things. Because you start by copying all these things, and then you find yourself. And uh, I know that sounds very backwards, but it's not. You become creative by understanding uh, many things that are out there. I'm sorry, I'm stuttering like Joe Biden right now.
You're fine, man. No, I think that's solid advice too. I mean, I play in an '80s tribute band, and so we play tons of different music, and it's all '80s rock, and so it's a lot of it is similar. But not every drummer for each of those bands plays the same way or does the same kind of fills. So you have to learn all those different ones, and then if you expand outside of that and play more top 40 stuff, where you're kind of doing maybe some more pop stuff and some rock and maybe even some of that rock country or whatever, and the more different diversity that you get, the easier it is to find yourself. Because then when you sit down to do something, original, then you're like, hey, here I am. I get to do whatever I want, and now I have all these things in my pocket that I've collected that I've learned from playing all this other kind of music. So that's solid advice. And they did ask if you have anybody that you follow right now, drummer wise. Like for me, I'm like, I think about Taylor Hawkins. He's a guy that I really
Oh,
watch a
I
lot.
love Taylor
I mean, and
Hawkins.
to me, he's
Can
still
I tell you a
new.
story really
I
quickly?
would love
I got to
nothing
tell you.
more. Tell us a story.
All right, so this was like the coolest thing. So, and it ties back into the whole cancer thing, right? So, like 2 years ago, down in San Diego, they had this luau kind of uh, fundraiser. And the band that was there was Chevy Metal, and that's his band. That's
Right.
Taylor Hawkins' band. And half the time he's fronting it. I mean, he's amazingly talented, right? And he goes, he one of his somebody that worked for the band came out and goes, "Hey man, Taylor wants to know if you want to come up and play." And I didn't. I'm like, okay, what do you? Okay, yeah, that'd be cool. What do you want to play? And he's like, well, there's this and there's Van Halen. I said, well, we'll do a Van Halen song. I'm like, okay, cool. So I come up and he's like, whoa, 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 before we play, I want to tell you who this guy is. And I'm like, oh God. So it turns out that when he was with Atlantis, before he got that gig, he had actually played on a record at my recording studio that I owned in Burbank. And apparently, I didn't even remember this. I walked in and I thought his cymbals were horrible. They were broken. They were just in terrible shape. And I said, dude, you can't play with a set of cymbals like that, man. This is a recording. You deserve better than that. You sound great. And so I had a whole backup set of cymbals. I was with Zildjian at the time. I'm with Peisty now. I mean, I'm with Savia now. And so I went in, I got the whole set of cymbals, gave it to him, and he goes, I'll put them back when I'm done. I said, no, dude, just take them, move on. It's fine. And so he told his story in front of everybody, and I had forgotten about it. And then we busted into a Van Halen song that he was fronting. It was freaking awesome.
That is
I have
awesome.
pictures from that day.
That guy
Yeah.
is multi-talented, much like Dave Grohl. Even I'm like, those two guys in one band together has got to be insane what they can do. I know that they do some swap
And you know
offs and
what?
stuff like that.
they're just such like, and I don't know Dave, but but from what I gather from talking to Taylor, they're just music geeks. And I don't mean musical geeks. I mean they love rock. They're like fans. Like they geek out on stuff, like on Van Halen stuff and Led Zeppelin stuff and whatever. They geek out on stuff the way I geek out on stuff. Um, and that's what makes to me when you have that enthusiasm that you love. I mean, that's how Poison came along. I think that Brett and I tried to create a band that we could like kind of be fans of. Like that was the idea, right? Not literally be fans of our own band, but like go like, if I was a fan, what would I want? Would I want them to play this? And how would I want them to dress? And how would act and blah blah blah. And that's we put that band together from that like excitement is how we put the band together. Um, and I recommend anybody putting a band together that
Yeah, totally.
do what
Yeah,
because if you do what you want to do,
right.
then even if you fail, you've done what you wanted to do. If you don't do what you want to do and you do something else and you fail, then you didn't get to do what you wanted to do
Right.
and you
And you failed.
failed.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, at least
So
have fun what you're doing. Love what you do. I mean, I think it's super important for sure. I got a couple other questions for you if you still have some time to hang out.
yeah, yeah.
Awesome. So Lauren Parker is asking, what have you been doing during quarantine?
Lauren Parker, I know her. Um, what have I been doing? Wouldn't you like to
Yeah,
know?
it's,
Uh,
you've been doing this every day, probably. A lot of Zoom calls.
I've been fooling around with a lot of action cameras lately, and my new Red camera. Because I have a YouTube
Yeah,
channel,
we need to tell
Rikki
everybody.
Rockett's. Le-
Yeah, tell everybody about your YouTube channel. How can they find it?
yeah, so it's Rikki Rockett's Legend Tripping, and you might wonder what's legend tripping, and legend tripping is basically a urban legend hunter. Instead of a ghost hunter, I'm kind of an urban legend hunter. Um, And that involves ghosts a lot of times too. And actually, Lauren, who's asking this question, has been with me on a few expeditions. And so that's kind of what my channel revolves around, that and motorcycles. So it's kind of like a motorcycle and a scary story. That's kind of what I do. Um, and so now I'm finding the best action cameras for on the motorcycle. And I'm always dilly dallying around with cameras and motorcycles besides this. So that makes it a little bit more fun than just scary story, scary story, scary story. So,
Yeah, and also I actually watched one of those. It was the one where I think you and your kids went to a hotel where a lot of people had passed
oh,
away.
yeah.
I watched that one recently. I mean, the shows are really fun. You're doing a lot of fun stuff over there, so people need to check that out. So I think to answer Lauren's question, you're still doing some of that, right?
Yeah,
Well,
I am. Even if I have to stay home and like do the story, sometimes, it depends. Sometimes I go out and investigate something, and then other times, I'll just pick a topic or a topic that people have been asking me about. Like I just did one about witches, and I've known a few witches, and so I called one up and that I know, and Sandra Wright, and we did a Zoom meeting and talked about all that so that we could lay to rest the part of it that's true and the part of it that isn't. I'm kind of a truth seeker, so I have a lot of fun with that.
that is cool. I mean, you have such a wide array of things that you do. I mean, you're not just a drummer. You've got your martial arts. You've got cycling, motorcycling. You've got this legend tripping stuff. So that you have a lot of things going on. It's fun to follow for sure, man. So I would
Well,
like to.
jujitsu's a. If you don't mind, I want to talk about jujitsu for just a minute.
Well, hey, I
Okay.
think it fits
Because,
right in because it's health and fitness, which I think plays into you know lowering your risk for cancer and everything. So hit it. Yeah, tell us about it.
yeah, you have to be careful when you're doing certain types of nutritional supplements. When you're doing other, you just have to talk to your doctor. So, you know, if you're on something, you have to talk to your doctor before you take things because it can affect the absorption of different medications and stuff like that. But anyway, yeah. So I feel like when I went through treatment, especially when the standard of care when you do the radiation, it's basically this mask. It's like this wet. net that they it's like plaster of Paris kind of thing where they put over your face and they mold it to your face and then it dries. It takes like 45 minutes you're under this thing or
Gosh.
more. And then they make it up and then it screws down to the table so that your head can't move. So that when you get the radiation, you cannot move your head. It is a freaky feeling. It is not um something that if you're somebody that doesn't like closed in spaces, you'll lose your mind.
Yeah, no doubt.
Um, so, but I would always think to myself, what is the big deal here? I've been doing Brazilian jiu-jitsu for so long. I've had 245-pound guys trying to choke me from the top. I can handle this. I can get through this.
Right.
And so it did, it definitely, I feel like all that has definitely saved my life in more ways than one. So yeah, so I try to do the best I can. I've been vegetarian for a very long time, and I'm going to come out with a supplement, believe it or not. I'm going to come out with a pre and post um, blend for martial artists because most of the stuff out there is for bodybuilders. It's got a bunch of fillers in it, all this kind of stuff. I want something really clean and something really good. And there's really not too many people doing stuff for martial artists. So, we don't always want to get like all bulked up and all that kind of stuff. There has to be mobility involved. And then I got to thinking, well, how perfect is this as a drummer? Because the worst thing that you want, if I know people that have taken supplements as a drummer and gone out and they play and they wonder why they get this pump, right? And that pump is a terrible thing when you're drumming because what happens is all of a sudden you're grabbing the sticks really hard and
Right.
you're not grooving
You're
anymore
not
and you're getting
loose.
tired.
Mm-hmm. You're like almost tense the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want something that works for me, for martial arts and for drumming, because to me, it's 50% mental and 50% physical. That's the kind of an activity it is. So, why not just go after both? So I'm putting something together right now. Right now, that I can't wait to come out with this. Hopefully, it'll come out before Christmas.
Well, you'll have to let us know because, we know a lot of drummers through breast cancer can stick it, have lots of groups that we're in with that, and we can let folks know about it because that sounds really cool. It'd be really
Cool.
nice. Man, I
Yeah, I
hate.
mean, it's not something like something for cancer, you know what I
Right.
mean, or something like that. But, once you're in recovery, once you're in a good place, to try and stay healthy, that is what is really important. I mean, you got to stay, you actually, I feel like you want to come out of this and do better than you did before. And I mean, I don't know what you look like before, but you look great now, man.
Well, thanks. I didn't have to pay you to say that, man. Thank you for that.
Yeah, you
Thanks.
do.
Yeah, I mean, well, dude, man, and the thing is I was telling Mary, I was like, I need to work out more. I've been playing drums a lot, but nothing is the cardio that playing a live show is. You can play drums up in your studio all day long. You just don't have the same energy in your studio as you do at a live show. So I'm anxious to get back, but I'm gonna get back and start doing some walking and running around and doing some more exercise and stay in shape. I got one more question for you here, Rikki, coming in from Michelle Graves. She wants to know if you are excited about the stadium tour that's coming in 2021.
Oh God, yeah. Like you have no idea. Yeah, I really, really excited about doing it. I can't wait. I hope this COVID stuff is over. I really do. I've talked to various doctors, and some think it'll be by the end of the year. Some think it'll be spring before we see an inoculation of any kind. But God, yeah, I just really want to get back out there. It's been almost 2 years, so that's I don't that's not good for me
I
for my
know, I
soul.
know.
You
Well, and
know,
I mean, I was gigging up until right before it hit, and all the gigs. Usually, I'm playing 2 to 3 gigs a week, and it's a totally different world when you're just sitting at home doing Zoom calls and whatnot, and playing in your studio. It's that energy that you can get from a live show. You just can't get that anywhere else. So I'm with you, man. I mean, obviously not to the extent that the shows that you play, but still, same idea. Getting to play a live show and getting that cardio and the energy from the audience there. It's amazing.
yeah, I want to get out there with Devil City Angels too. I mean,
Oh yeah.
we released a single and it did pretty good, and it did enough to get enough attention where people were like, "Man, you guys should go out and play again." So I want to do that too. I mean, obviously, the Poison Stadium tour takes front row, but yeah, I want to get back to doing that too because I have a lot of fun doing that or something. There's other projects that I would involve myself on, but I'm very picky because I mean, it's like, Poison's been my baby for 30 some years. So,
Yeah.
I don't just hoe around musically.
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 I know, right?
No, I don't know.
Well, man, thank you so much for taking time out. We're running a little bit behind schedule, and I appreciate you staying over.
Okay.
And we've got the next portion happening with the live music, so we're gonna get over to that. But I can't thank you enough for coming on, sharing your story of going through cancer. I know that's going to be a huge inspiration to a lot of people, and to finally have you at a Drummathon, whether it's virtual or whatever, I don't care. I'm just really excited that we got to have you on today, Ricky. Really cool of you, man.
I know with my glasses too, right? This is what,
You're
this is
like,
what
hey.
everyone's used to that, right?
Oh
So,
man, it's all
yeah.
good. Really, seriously, thank you so much for all the support and encouragement that you've given me and our organization all these years. It really means the world to me, man. Seriously, really does.
Well, you're awesome. So, yeah, so let's do more stuff, okay?
Absolutely,
And
man.
thanks to everybody who jumped into this. I would have loved to have seen Kenny Aronoff. I've known Kenny forever, man. He's a good dude.
Yeah.
I mean, just your whole roster. There's some amazing people, and the couple that sang before me, they're ridiculous. I love them.
Yes, Maylee
I
and the
love them.
mayor are awesome. Awesome people too. Great
Yeah.
human beings. So, well, thank you so much. We'll keep in touch and we'll do something again really soon, okay?
All right. Sounds good.
I love you, man.
Take
Take
care of
care.
each other.
All
Keep
right,
rock
man.
alive.
Thank you. Take care. All right, guys. That was Rikki Rockett from Poison. So happy to have had him today. Man, what a great day. This has been so fun.